Hey Mitch, did you hear about X-Men Apocalypse coming out in theaters?
Who?
Yep, me either. Because apparently it came out, but nobody's talking about it. Well, besides that one person out
It
there.
came out yesterday and
Yeah.
nothing.
It,
So
it ca-
okay.
there's that one person out there. It's like, but I like X-Men. It's okay, little Timmy. You can like it if you want, but no one else is talking about it.
I seen the Quicksilver scene now.
Oh, I haven't. I don't know.
It's awful. It's as
I
inconsistent as the last one. It's like, what the fuck is this?
It comes out next week. Yeah,
Yeah.
next week, right? Next week on the US. So probably I'll be one of the one out of
The
us.
spoiler cast is just going to be you and Armin. That's
Yeah,
all.
like I was gonna be like, I wouldn't say I would be the only one seeing it, but I'll probably be the first one to see it out of our group. And then it would the spoiler cast would just be me. You know what I mean? How like lonely that's gonna be if it's I mean, even if Armin doesn't see it, how lonely would that be if it's just me saying, "So I saw X-Men Apocalypse, guys." Yes, Joe, like clapping, like good for you. It's like the
Then you
seal.
get the Joe's so annoying. He always interrupts people comment.
True, but I guess we might as well get started on with the show, and we have a lot of good stuff to talk about in the show. But before we get started with anything, really, we just want to mention. I thought that was my phone that went off. We just want to mention the quick passing of a famous comic artist known as Darwin Cook. He passed away last Saturday, at the age of 54, very young. So
Mm.
he actually had cancer and he lost the battle of cancer. I personally, that hits me personally because, I had a family member who had cancer as well. They were able to beat it, but not everybody's so lucky. So that's why you just
Yeah.
gotta pay respects, man. And if you don't know what Darwin Cook was all about, well, he's most famous for doing the art on DC, The New Frontier. Honestly, if you see the art, you'll understand. You'll be like, oh, that one. So once you see it, just look up DC, The New Frontier if you really don't remember or if you don't know what it's about, then you'll remember it quickly because it's one of those things where if you don't know what it is by name, you'll know what it is by visuals for
Yeah,
sure.
it's a very unique style of art.
Hmm.
Very old vintage.
Yeah, and of course,
Very lovely as well.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, he worked on other stuff such as Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond. He even was helping redesigning the Catwoman character for DC in 2001. So he did a lot of stuff in his career, and his art style is one of those, like, that's one of the things as an artist that you want to do, I would assume, is just to have that one art style that will always be memorable, that it
yeah,
was
you
yours.
want to put your own stamp on something,
Hmm.
and he definitely did.
Definitely. So, just we wanted to pay respects for him and his family. And of course, if you remember Darwin Cook from anything, whatever he done, you could write down in the comments below because I know last week's show there were people who started to mention it. Of course, we record this show in advance. We don't do it the day of that it gets released, and that's why some people were typing in we didn't mention it. So, we're mentioning it now. So, I guess unless we have anything else to say about this, we could now start with the news of the show. And we do have some very, I guess, not heavy either side. It's very the same. Like there's an Image, there's a Valiant, there's DC and Marvel. Especially for comics, it is a. I don't want to say I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, Midge, but I feel like it's a precursor for events because next week is when the real start of the event starts, like Rebirth. So, and I
Well,
know,
Civil War Two technically started this week.
yeah, but you have like issue zero, so that's kind of like I want to say a precursor, like just the
Well, it sets everything up.
the tide. Well, what's the actual term for it that people say that the tide before the storm or stuff like that? Is that what people say? I don't know. Am I
The
alone?
calm before the storm.
The calm before the storm. Why did I think tide before the storm?
I don't know. What's a
Oh,
tide?
tide before tsunami. That's one of them.
I've never heard that one.
It's kind of like just like you said, the calm before the storm, like something that
Yeah.
gonna a precursor for what's happening. But that's for the comics. We'll of course talk about that a little bit. So let's get started with the news of the show. And first off, what we got to talk about is Valiant. There's a Valiant summit that happened. Of course, I know all about this. And of course, if you're on Twitter, you probably saw Mitch reply to my tweet. What a gif! I thought it
That
was
was so
funny.
good.
Yeah, I was like, first thing I tweeted it because we had just finished the main show. And then the first thing I tweeted that, and then he tweeted back. I was like a minute, no more than a minute later, this happens. That was just really funny. But what happened in this Valiant Summit is very much of what happens in most of what comic companies do, and it's just announcing what they're going to be doing next. And they announced or at least 6 new upcoming series that are going to be coming out soon. And a lot of them you probably heard are probably coming out if you're a fan of Valiant. And a lot of these are probably like just no biggie, like Faith #1. That was, of course, we heard before. And that's kind of a no biggie because the miniseries did such a big deal or big thing for Valiant. And now the creator of it, I think her name is Jodie Hauser, is like going around doing these talks on radio interviews and stuff like that, talking about the comic. Honestly, still recommend it if you haven't read it. And other comics include Generation Zero, Britannia, Bloodshot USA, Harbinger, Renegades, Savage, Divinity 3, Stalinverse. There is now a Stalinverse, Mitch.
A what verse?
A Stalinverse. I don't know how you say it. How do you pronounce it?
I don't
Stalin.
know. What's Stalin? I
You
don't.
don't know the what's the dictator, right? Joseph Stalin.
Oh, the actual Stalin. I thought it was something from the comic, and I'm like, I have no
Oh
idea
no,
about.
there's an actual it's based on
Why is there a
it's
Stalin?
it's very similar to DC's Red Sun, in which they're all kind of, you know, Russia, Russian, and you
They're
know how,
just going a bit more on the nose with it.
yeah, and it's also, I think it's because in this comic, the Divinity, the character, it's a character that can warp reality, and there were 3 characters who were exposed to the effects that gave Divinity 1 his power. So maybe the third one comes by is like, you know what? I'm just gonna change everything to be the Stalinverse, and everybody in this world is now gonna be under the control of Russia. Wow,
It sounds gay.
what it
What?
beat? What?
No, I mean like the world being Russia.
Oh, I thought you said the comic, but yes.
Not like the actual thing itself. I haven't
No,
read
the
it.
world being under Russia sounds kind of,
Uh,
especially in
that's
that
that's
dictatorship
just
era.
cold. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And there's another one, Generation Zero, which is gonna be a lot, I would assume. I don't want to say Inhumans. Maybe what's the other one? Mitch on Marvel it has something to do with the Runaways. Is that what they're
Yeah,
called? Runaways?
yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's some.
villains are children. No, the children are villains. No. How did I get that mixed up?
It's something along those lines, like these children were experimented and everything, and now they're I don't want to say it's like they're villains, but they're not necessarily the Supermen, you know.
Yeah, that does sound very
So
Runaway.
they're kind of taking it to their own forte, and they're saving other kids and stuff like that went under the
That
same
sounds
deal.
very cloak and daggery. I don't approve. What a ripoff.
It's called Generation Zero. There's also another one called Savage, which essentially is just Turok.
Yeah.
So, and then there's Harbinger Renegades, which is just a new team up that Faith was actually mentioned in the Faith comic book. Bloodshot USA is just going to be focusing on the character Bloodshot. And Britannia, which is the one I knew nothing about. Oh, what is this? And then apparently, here, let me read off just really quick on going down what it's about. On the fringes of civilization, the world's first detective is about to make an unholy discovery. Ruled by the fates, manipulated by the gods, commanded by Caesar, in the year 65 AD, one's destiny was not his own. At the blah 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 blah, 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 blah. It's something about in the actual place, Britannia, like that's an actual place. The
Well,
first,
yeah. I live in Britannia.
well, yeah, there you go. The first detective will become Rome's only hope to reassert control over the empire's most barbaric frontier and keep the monsters that blurs the line between myth and mystery. So it's a lot of like supernatural type element to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like monsters are coming
Sounds
out. I mean, usually Valiant comes out with a picture that showcases all these new series down the line, and usually it go by month, like one in July, August, September, October, November, and this is just another one. And then it includes at the top, the future of Valiant begins in 2016. So that's just all I gotta say about that, really, because there isn't too much at the moment. Of course, I'll talk about all these comics when they come by, just later. Which I don't know if they're gonna be canceling some comics so they can put these comics in their place because that's how Valiant usually works. Where some a comic will end, it doesn't cancel, it'll end, and then a new comic will
Yeah.
take its place. So
Hmm.
I haven't heard of that.
That would annoy me because I'd be like, but I don't want that. I want this.
Yeah, you want
I'm
to like
enjoying.
you want to continue the comic, but it just has an
Yeah.
end, and that's where sometimes are like, oh, but I really like this character, but then you fall in love with the next
Yeah,
series.
but then I'd be like, it's not the same. It's
True,
not as good as the last one.
I understand that. There's a lot of people saying that they were kind of sad that Darth Vader was ending, like its actual ending, not just
Yeah.
canceling. So even though they love the series and they know it's gonna have a definitive end, they're just kind of sad that it's ending because they liked it. So moving on to the next piece of news, we have DC's new logo. Yes, DC has unveiled their new. Actually, someone like I don't know if it's legit or not, but someone kind of schooled the comments about how this isn't technically it's a logo, it's an insignia. Do you agree with that, Mitch?
Uh, I suppose you could say that.
But everybody just says logo. And to me, first off, when this came out, what it is, of course, if you haven't seen it, it's just a circle with this new font for and the words DC. It reminded me of college for some reason. Like I know I've heard some people say it as well, like a college sports team, but it actually does remind me of college. So I don't know. What was the first thing you thought of, Mitch?
It's very like 1970s DC.
Interesting. It
Like
does.
it's going back to the old circle with just the font, which I quite like to be honest. It's simple. You can read it.
Yeah,
I don't get how people are like shitting on this. It's just like it's just a it's simple. Why does it have to be all overly complicated?
See, this is why I have brought up the picture of every previous DC logo, and you're right. It does go back a little bit towards. You're like in the '70s, they had one where it was just a line outside, and then the words DC in the middle, and
Yeah,
then it went from that to a circle with stars around it to being like horizontal or cross diagonal or something, and then it went to the whole DC with the star that wraps around it like a galaxy type thing, like an eclipse.
yeah. I also wouldn't call this an insignia in the slightest.
Okay,
I
there
just
you go.
I just made I just googled what it meant to make sure I was right, and it's like
Someone said that in comments, and I was like, I don't know. Like he was schooling these people, like just so y'all know, it's an insignia, not a logo. I was like, I don't know if that's legit, but who knows?
no, no.
And of course, the previous DC logo was the one where it's the C and then the D flaps out to look at the.
Well, no, it's the D, but the D flaps out to reveal the C.
See, I thought that, but then I look back and oh, you're right. No, the
The
D
C- the
flaps out.
C's the C's underneath, the D's on
Yeah,
top.
that's what I meant. Like the D flaps, because when I said the D
Uh,
flaps out, but I didn't mean I don't know what I was trying to mean on that, but I was looking at the picture. I was like, that's the only way I described it was it's a D and a C. But you're right, it is a D first, and then it flaps out to show the C. For me,
yeah.
I just said it's a C in the back, and then a D that's flapped out. So, you don't like that logo, right?
No, I think it's horrible. It's overly complicated. You took the text away, you could not tell what that is.
True,
That's a sign of a bad logo.
I do like it for the movies though. When they do the movie like transition,
Yeah, but
I think
yes,
they're cool.
I don't know. You could do something with this logo. Like
This
people are
new one.
going, oh, but you can't do it with the new one. I thought, well, you could.
Didn't you see? There's someone on Twitter who did a rough video of what DC and Marvel. Well, Marvel still kind of does it. I don't think DC does it anymore in their movies, but where you know how comics would flap down and everything, and then it would reveal the logo. Like this one, except
That's what Marvel does. The DC one, they just customize it for each movie, don't they?
no, but like okay, Marvel has the comics and then it shows the logo, right? For
Yeah.
DC, what I remember, it would have the logo, and then the comics would like change inside the logo. It wouldn't be outside
Yeah,
of it.
they customize it for the characters. So, like, if you're watching Arrow, you'd have the arrow inside it.
Well, yes, that recent one, yes, there's stuff like that in TV, but I'm talking about like when Green Lantern came out, or there,
Oh, I can't remember that far back.
like they had like just the comics inside of them, and then it would like do the just keep going to different comics, and someone did a rough video of that, how it would look, and I mean, it looks pretty cool, but I do like what they had did recently with the TV, where I think once the D flapped out to show the C, like certain stuff would happen for the Arrow TV show. Arrows would come
like
out.
the animated movies, I think they do it best.
Yeah,
Where the D flaps over and you've got the image of what it is.
exactly. So I would hope something like that would happen, and whatever was gonna happen with their
But I think
movies for
that you
TV.
could do that with this, really.
Oh,
Like you could fade that in and then fade it out again.
well, there you
Quite.
go.
But
But
I've seen people put like stars on this, and it's like, no, it looks awful.
no, yeah, I don't dig the stars at the moment. I think just like that is good. Even though it reminds me of college, like that's not really a bad thing to me.
No, it's like if you want stars, go buy the DC shoes. If you don't want,
Those what are they, Vans, right? No, not Vans. They're a
no, there's
Converse.
DC.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Converse shoes they make.
No, there's DC shoes.
Oh, you right.
Like the
There's that.
company DC.
I thought you were talking about like DC Comics shoes that are in the Converse.
Actual shoes, DC
No, I
shoes.
remember what you're talking about. Like, you remember the Rhino shoes?
Where the D and C are backwards and
Well,
they're like,
you remember the Rhino shoes? Those were along early 2000s.
uh, pro, uh, no, I can't think of it
You don't
now.
remember the Rhino shoes? What? Oh,
Uh,
so I guess that's all we have to talk about for that, because it is just a logo. It is gonna be put on Rebirth and everywhere from now on. This is the new logo. So if you like the old one, you got to get used to this one. So
yeah, and
going
after all, it's just a logo.
it is honestly that's the same. That's what I'm saying too. It's just a logo, and it shouldn't really affect how you see a company because it's what they're creating that should affect how you see them. So going on to the next piece of news, we have Rat Queen's hiatus explained because apparently there is a dispute going on over for the Rat Queens, which Mitch loves and does review as well here. And the reason for this is because they're pushing out the current artist so they can bring out the original artist, and it's gonna take a while for them to catch up.
Is that why they're doing it exactly?
It said in the article I was reading that because the current artist tweeted out, "I found out I was being pushed out to bring in the original artist."
Uh, but can I just say the first piece of image news that you actually do on this show, and it's something that's going to make me really salty. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. But hey, if there was a little bit more image news, I'd put it up there.
I don't know what to feel about this one.
I mean, so do you? Are you okay with this? We'll bring back the original artist, or are you torn because it's going to take
Well,
longer for them to make it?
the original artist is a wife beater, so kind of no
Yeah,
place. But
yeah.
I don't know. I don't. They don't know if it's coming back yet.
You don't know?
Well, if you read it here, it says I have not made any decisions about his future since the announced hiatus.
Oh,
Break.
Okay. I swear I read he said he was coming back already.
There
You're
are
right.
no scripts written, and no, I've been looking for a new team to work with. There is no artist attached.
That's so weird that they just. I don't know. It's a weird business move by Image on doing that, pushing
Well,
out.
it's not Image. It's the actual
Oh,
the
writer.
guy who made it. Yeah,
Oh, the guy who made it.
yeah. But it's a weird thing as well because the original artist obviously co-owns the IP.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agree.
it's,
And then he's kind of
it's a really shitty situation for this series to be in. So
yeah, and it's been getting good as you've been saying before, right?
it's always been good.
Well,
It's
yeah,
fantastic.
but like, apparently, wasn't there like a new arc or something, or is that not one of those series?
Um, no, they're in the new arc at the minute.
So when did the current artist even start? At what number?
Um,
Do you
I
remember?
don't know. They've had like 3 or 4 artists
Oh, never mind. Okay,
last like 2 years.
but it's
So
only at number 16.
yeah, and it might not even get past that. So
Ooh.
sad face.
Yeah, so I guess going past that, unless we have anything else to say about this, other than just Mitch crying inside because he wants this to come out, but he also just doesn't. You kind of don't want the original artist, right? Is that what I'm getting?
No, the original artist is great. Like his work is fantastic, but I don't want it back.
Yeah. So there you go.
I won't be able to look at the book again. Be like, oh,
You're like, but just everybody send out some prayers for Mitch because he needs all the help he can with Rat Queen and trying to get it back going, not with the original artist. And it's one of those controversial things. So going into our last piece of news, we're going to be talking about DC and Marvel August solicitations. Now we're just going to go quick down into some of the big moments for what's going to happen this August for DC and Marvel. Of course, DC coming out of Rebirth with these solicitations. Marvel, I mean, just keep doing what they're doing because it's already past, like, they're already in the new era. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So going down really quick, we're gonna start with DC. Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, Ted Kord. If you didn't know that, yes, Ted Kord is back and he's gonna be helping out Jaime Reyes. And I love the way they say it, where Jaime Reyes is kind of just like he just wakes up one year and it's one. He just wakes up and it's 1 year later or something like that. And or because nobody knows where he's been this whole time. Like, how do you explain that? So it's one of those things.
Time jump.
Sure.
Simple.
You also have, I guess, Vertigo coming back with like John Constantine, Swamp Thing, and everything, and it's one of those things that they went back to the Hellblazer. Like they used to name it Constantine, and then now they're going back to just the Hellblazer instead of Constantine Hellblazer. Now they're just going to Hellblazer. So if you're a fan of Constantine, there you go. It goes back to the very old Vertigo style.
Well, if you're a fan of Hellblazer, there you go.
Well, there you go. Because I meant Constantine, like John Constantine. But yeah, fan of the old Hellblazer, this is probably your thing.
Yeah, I know, but you get people who are like, oh, I prefer the Hellblazer name. No.
True. You also have, I guess, Wonder Woman and Cheetah are gonna be, I guess, allies in this rebirth. I don't get how that's gonna make sense, but I do love Wonder Woman's new a suit. So that's the best thing that come out of this. And next one is, I guess, the Legion of Tomorrow is a thing. Because after the show, there has been a current series, and then the Legion of Superheroes is coming back and will be a part of Rebirth. So anybody fans out there of Firestorm, which there are some people, because he doesn't get to do because he was on TV while he was dead in the comics. So it was a weird thing, and everybody was like, "Wow, why can't he be alive in the comics if he's alive on TV?"
And here you go, we'll bring him back just because of the TV.
Yeah. True that, but next one is just showing the new Green Lanterns, and they're going to be fighting the Red Lanterns. But there's a weird thing going down of it because they were going to call it Red Dawn, but apparently they can't call it Red Dawn, so they have to call it Red Planet. I don't know why.
That's fair enough.
I mean, I guess because Red Dawn is like really famous and everything.
Yeah.
You know?
But why is Baz in like a construct car?
See, that's cool. I think that's cool.
That's Green Lantern movie bad.
That's what? Though, how is that Green Lantern movie bad?
Because it's exactly what he did in that movie.
Can it be a lowrider?
Well, it's not a lowrider. Well, I don't know what is that?
It's just a battle car, to be honest.
It's got wing mirrors on the front, though. That's stupid.
Windmills. Oh, I don't know. Next, we got Harley Quinn is now being more of an anti-hero, which is something we knew was coming instead of being a villain. And she's now going to have more people with her, and that's going to prove that she's kind of going more the heroic side, but still in the anti-hero side, because now she's in the movie and she can't be a straight-up villain anymore.
She could be.
I mean, she's a bad guy. She's not a villain.
It's what we do.
Yeah, I still like that line. Aquaman, a terrorist? What?
Can I just say that image of Aquaman is why colors are needed?
Why? Because like you see,
because he looks stupid without color.
Well, I think it's just how they drew him right there. I don't know.
No, it looks stupid without color.
Well, because when you think about it, not that collar like that goes on the neck, but the collar around his neck is too big for this image. But when you look at it in his other one, it looks normal.
No, it's normal there because it's the perspective.
Oh, true. And then there's so many handcuffs for him. We have All-Star Batman, and this is, I guess people are kind of hesitant because All-Star Batman and Robin was terrible, is what the majority of people say. But this is Scott Snyder, so I think people are more inclined to read this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
it's not that bad.
Next, we got, I guess, more of the Super family. And that's a good thing about Rebirth, is that they're adding more Superman characters in the main line. Because before, usually you have like Superman, maybe Superman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman. But still, like now you're having like that, including Superwoman, Supergirl, Superman.
But the thing is, though,
comics.
with more Superman type characters, doesn't that make everyone else redundant?
Because they're all so powerful?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, what's the point? Like, you've got all these Supermen and women.
It's true. I don't know. Maybe they're not as powerful as they're gonna be, because Supergirl currently is trying to get her powers back. Superwoman is gonna get her powers and then kind of die. So Superboy's out there somewhere too. Oh yeah, no, the new Superboy is gonna be the kid, and he's probably not that strong. So something
Unless
like
they
that.
Dragon Ball Z it and the kids are stronger than the dad.
Oh, that'd be cool though, because I always thought that's cool. When the son is stronger than the dad. And
Yes, it's all right. It's expected though.
I guess Batman is gonna have to trust someone he trusts less than anyone. Could it be the Joker? Could it be someone else? I don't know. Who knows? Because it says in a solicitation for Justice League #2, he's gonna just trust someone he's never trusted before.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, so that's going over the DC part. Let's go over the Marvel part really quick. And this one, bringing up Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Of course, she was in the movie Deadpool, and now she's going to be in the Deadpool comic. Deadpool and the Marks for Money #2. Is this
I'm
something you expect?
surprised I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Yeah, like, I mean, you look at, like, the DC side, how Harley Quinn is turning more anti-hero, and the certain characters are joining, because now they're in the movies. Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Now she's in it, so you're right.
And she's going to be completely different to how she was in the early 2000s.
Sure. Next up, we have the Hellfire Club showing up. Isn't there a TV show being made by Fox?
Yes, called Hellfire.
And isn't Hellfire who showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
There's a Hellfire Club, and there is a character called Hellfire. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just wanted to put distinction between them.
But another expert, for a company who's trying to push out mutants completely, there's another X-Men book. Look at that.
Next up, we have some Marvel mashups with all new Wolverine, in which the X-23, am I correct?
Yes.
I'm keeping up. Is now partnering up, I guess, with Spider-Gwen and two other people, which I don't really know of. If you see it in the pictures.
Well, Gabby is a clone of X-23, and she's been in from the start of this new run.
Okay, because I haven't read the new run, so that's why I was new to them.
I can't remember what the little badger thing is, but I know she picked that up in the last issue.
I think the little badger's funny with glasses.
It's so cool. She just walks it in like Central Park. It's so funny.
So
I don't care about Spider-Gwen. I'll probably skip that.
No. Well, you won't skip this one, the Civil War, Ulysses, where they're going to be having their own war with the Inhumans.
No, you missed the Uncanny Humans.
Yeah, the Uncanny Humans. That's what.
Oh, you said Ulysses, and it kind of threw me off.
Oh, my bad. Well, Civil War, the Uncanny Inhumans, they'll have their own war, which they're going to have to fight, because Inhumans technically aren't on either side. They're on their own side, and they have their own war. They don't care about anybody else's war. Or they could... It says right there, Mitch, private civil war.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to think of, why. Why would they need their own civil war?
Who knows?
Oh, well, I'll read it.
Well, yeah, it's Inhumans, man. Inhumans has been doing really good. So, next we have something about Black Panther, and apparently, I think the artist is leaving. The current artist is going to be leaving after maybe 4 issue 5, and it's going to feature art from someone else. So, if you really like the art for Black Panther, he's going away. But at least the writer's staying. That's all you can ask for, because the writer.
Oh yeah. I suppose if they're changing it per arc, that's not a bad thing.
It's like Max Landis, how he changed different art per issue, though, in his series. I thought that was a genius idea. I can't believe nobody ever kind of thought of that. So, next up, the Deadly Foes of Spider-Man are back. I guess because...
I don't care about these ones.
Alright, so, I mean, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, the Deadly Foes are coming back. A-Force is going to have
Wait, are these the same as the Superior Foes?
No. The original Electro, Max Dillon, apparently is coming back. Oh, no. A new Electro will appear in Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, a new Electro will appear. I think it's a woman. So.
Yeah, it's a woman. I see tits.
Yeah.
It's the first thing, if you can't tell, just look for the chest.
Yeah, so going on to the next one, we have A-Force having their own little Civil War issues in Civil War 2. There's some drama bullying going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. Spider-Woman and her kid, probably, because she still has her kid, doesn't she?
I haven't been keeping up with Spider-Woman. I avoid that book like the plague. Just something I think.
Next up, we have kind of the question of who's going to wield the shield. Because, Cap, Steve Rogers is back, Sam Wilson is Cap, and who's going to have the shield? And I guess they're going to answer that question in Captain America Sam Wilson #12. And it also has the hashtag, give back the shield. It's trending, Mitch. Give back the shield to Steve Rogers.
Well, I suppose they did. No. I can't remember what happened to the last issue of Captain America.
Yeah. So going on to the next one, and that is, I guess something's gonna be happening in the Ultimates.
She's
Ultimate Limited.
opening Pandora's box, apparently.
Yeah, that's what I see from here,
Oh,
and
it's a briefcase. I don't know.
mm,
I
and
know it's Terrigen Mist, isn't it?
yeah, that's what I thought. Like, well, that's I thought you just said Pandora's box as a term, just like in general.
No, I just saw a box and
Oh,
it's like, oh, Pandora's box.
it's something. So what can fit in a briefcase that could tear the team apart forever? Terrigen Mist, and I guess now we can really just get into the comics of the week and start talking like comics because that's actually I think the longest time we spent on news, really.
How long was that? About half hour.
Probably, yeah, about a half hour on news, and I mostly did that because the solicitations, and I think I might want to start doing that, bringing up the solicitations for like every month, because
I'm
usually,
surprised we
there's
haven't. To be fair,
wait, what?
I'm surprised we haven't already. To be fair,
I know, I don't know why I just didn't for some reason. Now I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's bring up like because this was August, and then we'll do for September, and I guess going out of that. Oh well, I was gonna talk about no, I'll talk about it next time because I mean, in they didn't mention the DC solicitations, but you were right about how they're having a Chinese Justice League.
yeah, yeah, I saw that.
I just wanted to quickly mention that of how like how you said
Woman.
the Chinese Wonder Woman looks like Sailor Moon.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, no, say the Jupiter because she's green.
Oh, there you go, Sailor Jupiter. I don't really remember Sailor Moon all that much in general. Uh, I barely remember for
Well,
what.
I remember the colours and that they were planets. That's
No.
all I remember.
So I guess now we can move on to the comics of the week, and that is the comics of the week for May 18th, 2016. And we only got 4 issues each. We don't have the traditional 5. But Mitch is going to be doing something special after we do the comics of the week, which we'll get to in a little bit. He's going to be reviewing something special that I think a lot of people will appreciate because of how they love the certain franchise. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So, who went last week, Mitch?
You did, I think.
Okay, so you could go first.
Yes.
Go.
So, Civil War number 0, or Civil War 2 number 0, I should say. Um, I don't know who wrote this book because it wasn't Bendis.
hmm
It says it was Bendis, but it was too good to be Bendis. Especially after that free comic book day thing, it's just like a complete 180 in quality.
hmm
Like you read it, it's like shit. This is fucking good. But everything about this issue is great. Like, the writing is fantastic. What's his? How you say his name? Koipel, I think that's his name, and Poncer. Like they're
Yeah.
like together, they're fucking gods. Like, in the art department, absolute gods.
Damn.
But it's pretty much like an establishing issue. Like the first thing you see is She-Hulk, and she's doing this court case for I can't remember which villain it is, but he hasn't actually done anything yet, and
Ah,
she's defending him, saying like you can't punish someone for not doing anything. Yes, he's done stuff before, but he hasn't done anything this time, and he's shown no signs of doing anything this time. So you can't really
that age-old
do
question.
anything about it. Exactly. And no, excuse me.
Yeah.
Then you get a little bit of Rhodey, like he's doing his terrorist thing, and he meets with the president, and the president's like, "I want you to be the Secretary of Defense, and then when I step down, I want you to be president because I don't want like Tony Stark." Because eventually, one of the superheroes are going to try and like become the president.
Well, Cap was one time in the Ultimate.
Cap was president in the Ultimates.
Yeah, but not in
No
this.
one's been
Yeah.
president in the 616 of that thing.
Imagine Iron Man as president.
It'd be the best
Well,
thing ever.
isn't Loki going for president?
Yeah, he is. So I
Yeah.
wonder if I could tie into that actually. I completely forgot about that. So
Yeah. So
maybe the
there you go.
race is against Rhodey and Loki.
Yeah, there you go. There you
But
go. That'd be-
like, there's that little bit with him there. Then there's a fair conversation with Doc Samson and Carol Danvers, and if people don't know, Doc Samson did die, but he was brought back in Deadpool recently.
oh, I didn't know
So I saw someone call out Bendis for a continuity error, and he was like, "Well, actually, he was brought back like 2 weeks ago."
that.
And then at the end, you get like the origin of Ulysses. Well, not really the origin, but you get the introduction to him, and
Yeah.
like he's this awkward little hipster, and he meets these people in the park, and then a Terrigen cloud comes around,
Oh.
and he turns into the cocoon, and other
Oh.
people do. and he comes out of it, and everyone's like, "What's your powers? What can you do? No, 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 no. Are you inhuman? Are they inhuman? Where's everyone else?"
Yeah.
And it ends with him having a vision of the future. It's like this destroyed city. Like it's a really good issue, and Bendis is covering up for someone. He did not. I'm adamant he did not write this issue.
So he's covering it like he was there was a ghostwriter, is what you're saying? Like he just put
Yeah,
his name in and
yeah,
someone was ghostwriting it for him.
definitely. Like there's
Ghost
no possible way.
ghostwrite the issue. Ghostwrite the issue. You
That
remember?
could be a new hero, Ghost Rider.
Hey, no, but you remember this, do you remember that song? Ghostwrite the whip. Ghostwrite the whip.
No,
You don't remember that song? Oh, well, people are listening probably.
I'm probably too white for that song.
Ah, yeah. Well, there's a song. That's why I was mentioning the reference. I was like, Ghostwrite the issue. Ghostwrite the issue. So now I guess I'll get into my first comic of the day that I'll be talking about. And this is going to be a little bit left field for most people, but I'm going to be talking about Future Quest #1. Now, I'm not going to be talking about what happens in the issue per se, but I think I'm going to be talking about the return of the Hanna-Barbera universe into DC Comics, because they've been talking about it for a while now about bringing this universe back. We've seen first looks here, we've seen covers here and there about being quote-unquote reinvented. You know, Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, The Great Gazoo, Birdman, all of them, they're all making a comeback. They're all going to get #1s. And when each of those series come out, I think I'm going to be talking about their #1s. I don't know if I'll necessarily be reviewing the series continuously, because by the time they come out, Rebirth will be out and a lot of different stuff and big stuff will be happening for DC characters, so I have to talk about them, but I will talk about the #1s for them. But what I'm going to be talking about is just how this comic is really Future Quest #1. This is the Justice League or Avengers comic series to the Hanna-Barbera universe, because it features a multitude of characters from this universe, and also it does mainly feature the Quest family because it is called Future Quest. But what I'm saying is it does bring certain characters like that one guy. What was his name? I think it was Space Ghost. I almost wanted to say Spectre for some reason, but Space Ghost features him. It features Birdman, of course, the Quest family, Johnny Quest, and all of them. And it's just really a fun comic. The art feels very nostalgic, very much like the cartoons back in the day from the original Hanna-Barbera shows. And if you like that kind of feel, if you like that kind of comic where the art is very cartoony and along the lines of something I could think about, the first one I think about is Harley Quinn from DC Comics. You know, the way they draw her, where it's very cartoony. This is very much along that style. So if you're into that type of art style, then I think you really love this series, and especially this one, because I don't know how the other ones are going to be drawn, but this one for sure is that cartoony drawing style. And as for the writing of this comic, it very much feels like the show as well. So this whole comic series, Future Quest, feels so nostalgic to the old show. So if you're a fan of the old shows, of this old Hanna-Barbera universe, or if you know of these characters and you never really got into them, I would really recommend getting into them now, especially because they are being quote-unquote modernized for this modern time, but still having a very nostalgic feeling to how the shows were. So overall, I can say I enjoyed it. So what do you got?
Sweet. Uncanny Avengers #9. This is the long-awaited return of what's his name? Fuck, Hank Pym. That's
I see. I'm not the only one who forgets names.
I was like, I had it in my head, and I'm like, what? But or Pimtron, as I like to call him, because if you read Rage of Ultron, you'd know that Ultron and Pym merged and ended up in space in a fetal position, just lying there. And no one knew if it was canon or not. They wouldn't say if it was actually in continuity or anything. But now we know it is. But yeah, he comes back down, and like the team like meet up with him, and of course like it's Ultron, so they like take the suit off.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I kind of can't, and like he like disassembles himself, and the only thing left of Hank Pym is like from the chest up. And, like the rest is just like
Oh,
Ultron.
I've seen that picture. I think he's
I put it on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
It's just like, damn.
I know.
But,
he's crazy.
It's so cool though. It's just like he's finally Hank Pym might be relevant again. But like he decides that he's hungry, so he flies off, and they're like, oh, for God's sake. So Rogue goes after him, and they end up at the old Avengers mansion. That's now like a tourist spot. Well, it's not. No, it's a tourist hotel. You can actually stay in like Avengers themed rooms and have all that. I think in one issue prior, there was like a Vision and Scarlet Witch themed room.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of creepy in there, but like, so he's kind of like pissed off about this. Like, not much really happens. But
Mm-hmm.
oh, what was the end of it?
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I completely forgot now. Oh, like basically, he finds his old memorial, like a statue from the Rage of Ultron issue, and he like just melts that because like, well, I'm alive now. We don't need this, and you can charge it to Deadpool because he's got money. And while he's doing that, Cap calls Janet Van Dyne to basically say like, Pym's alive and he's back, but he's Ultron at the same time. And I think the end of the issue is basically saying that Hank Pym's just going to go off and try and find his place in the world again. It's kind of like, well, what can I do now? And that's like the end of the issue. But
Okay.
hopefully they keep him relevant. So
I think so. I mean, unless he dies in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, which he possibly could. You never know.
please don't say that.
I know. You're hoping he doesn't. Poor Michael Douglas. So the next comic I'm going to be talking about is Superman Wonder Woman number 29. Now, this is going to be a little confusing because there's 3 Superman in this issue. So the way I am going to be trying to distinguish between them so I don't confuse myself as well and I don't confuse everybody listening or Mitch, you. So I'm going to be saying New 52 Superman is Superman. The pre-New 52 Superman with the black suit is Clark. And the Solar Flare Superman is just Solar Flare Superman. I think that's that hard to say. So that's a way to distinguish them. But with this issue, this is the second to last title in this new arc of Superman, the final days or his last days before he dies or whatever he does, or he just becomes Clark, as I mentioned before in a previous podcast. But whatever he does, he's taking his final stand because he is gonna fight Solar Flare Superman right here and now. Him and Wonder Woman tag team on Solar Flare Superman, and it's pretty fun to watch. And they even get, since they're in a forest, they get a bunch of trees, hit him with it, and throw it on top of them. And we find out who Solar Flare Superman actually is. He's just some prisoner. But the thing is, he doesn't remember. He remembers he's a prisoner. He even says it to them when he turns back that he's this prisoner from this prison and this is his prison number. But I guess he doesn't remember becoming Solar Flare Superman because he just talks a little bit and then he transforms again into Solar Flare Superman. And that's when he thinks he's just Clark. He's regular Superman. But when he goes into human form, he knows who he is, so it's a little weird thing. But my guess on how all this came about is really that some scientist, which I think is that scientist in China, the one that made Chinese Superman, was trying to create a Superman of herself, but she continuously failed, and this is one of her failed experiments where she was, I guess, using solar energy, and then something happened where it turned the prisoner into Superman, but now he can't distinguish himself. He has like 2 personalities. And at the same time, while this is happening, Clark took his family to the Fortress of Solitude, always knowing it was there. And there's even this really funny moment where Jonathan White actually sees a statue of Jor-El and Superman's mom, and then he asks his dad Clark, who are these people? And then Clark says, I'll tell you another time. I think it's funny. You should tell the kid about his grandparents, bro. I mean, I'm pretty sure he hasn't yet because he barely learned in Superman and Lois and Clark that his dad was Superman. So I'm wondering how this is all really gonna end. Like, I'm excited because towards the end of the issue, we do see Supergirl come out of her chamber to try to help Superman fight Solar Flare Superman while Clark is just chilling in the Fortress of Solitude. But eventually, I just really want to talk between Superman and Clark. So, because one is from pre-New 52 and one is from New 52, and I just would love to see a conversation between them before anything ends. And I'm pretty sure that'll happen next issue. And I just don't know if Superman is gonna die, like the actual Superman, the New 52 one. So that's all I got, and it's gonna be so confusing.
Well, didn't you say that you think he's going to give his powers to?
That's what I think, but you just never know. He could just die and then his powers get transferred over somehow, or he could transfer it over and still be survived, or he could do neither and just die and nobody gets his powers.
He just does.
Yeah. So what do you got?
Another Bendis book. I got a very Bendis heavy week this week. But International Iron Man #3. It's directly picking up after the last one, where like Tony's getting his ass beat by these like mech suits, and like in the end he just gives up his suit and he's like, "There you go, take it." No, I don't. No, I'd rather live. You take the suit. So they fly off, and they take it to Cassandra's HQ basically. And she flips her shit. She's like, "Why the fuck did you bring that here? He's gonna track it."
Damn.
Like, why are you stupid? It's like, no, he's not tracking it. There's no like signature coming off of it. And she's like, "You are stupid. It's Tony Stark. Like, he's gonna find a way to track this." And then this series flashes back to the past and the present quite a lot. So you then go back to the past where he's having a talk with his dad about Cassandra because they met in college.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "She honeypotted you. Like, she got close to you to get you to her family because we're business rivals. So they wanted to get to you, get to me, sort of thing." And he's like, "No, it's not like that. It's not like that." And he ends up like storming off and going back to England. And then in the present, you see Cassandra, and then there's Tony Stark sitting there, and she's like, "Oh, you tracked the suit." He's like, "Yep." And like she puts him at gunpoint and like goes to tap it on his head, but he's wearing the suit, but it's got like this camouflage, so it looks like he's not wearing a suit. It's really cool. And they have a talk. Then it flashes back to the past, and it's Tony and Cassandra on this boat, and he asks like he says about what what Howard said to him about she honeypotted him. She was like, "Well, actually, at first, yeah, I kind of did, like, you know." But like afterwards, no, this is a genuine thing. So that kind of ends with him being pissed off. And then you go back to the present, and he's like, "You know what I want to know." And she's like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" He's like, "I tracked down my biological parents to that exact point, and where I should have found them, I found you. So who are they?" And then it's to be continued. It's just like, how long can we draw this out?
Those to be continues. But I guess to go on to my next issue, I'm going to be talking some Valiant here because I do want to talk about Superman American Alien last because I really love that issue in that series. So going on here, going to be talking about Rye number 13. And there's this event going on with Valiant called 4001 AD. And this essentially is talking and giving an origin to the quote-unquote villain of the series, who is an AI called Father, who has brought Japan into space and called it New Japan. And in the first issue of the event, we see Rai, the hero, fight with the villain towards the end, about to fight the villain with his big robot and against the villain's like big giant dragon robot made out of the country Japan. Here, we actually just see, like I said, the origin and I guess how the Father AI became a quote-unquote villain, because he doesn't start off a villain. He actually starts off making sense and just wanting to protect humanity and bring happiness to people. And you would think when a leader just wants to bring happiness and joy to their people, nothing can go wrong, right? Wrong, because he even says it in the comic. The Father AI says that even in perfection, there is a small percentage of humanity that enjoys discontent, that enjoys causing fires for the sake of having fires. Because there'd be a difference if he was such a dictator and that he was causing all this havoc in New Japan and the people felt they had no free will. Then I would see it okay to rebel against Father, the AI, because he isn't giving them a choice. But he does give them a choice of what they want to do. The only thing is they don't want to be quote unquote happy. Like the comic said, they enjoy discontent and they want to start fires for the sake of starting fires. So that's where it confused me a little bit with humanity, because I didn't see this coming. This kind of shows a darker side to humanity in this comic, and it kind of shows how the AI is a little bit misunderstood and how he became a villain, because a lot of times villains become villains because they just end up being misunderstood heroes. Now, of course, that isn't the case for every villain in fiction, but that is the case here. And it was just crazy to see this, because all he wanted to do was help and create a better place for these people of Japan, in New Japan, in outer space, away from everything dangerous on Earth. So it seemed a little bit crazy that people started to go against Father, but hey, I guess they just want to enjoy discontent, and like I said, just want to start fires for the sake of starting fires and not having a reason, in a
See,
sense. So,
Joe's turning to Team Stark.
well,
He's realizing the correct side.
well, after they explained it in the comic and how like the AI father was severely misunderstood, Stark's side seems a lot more plausible. But I still Team Cap all day.
You'll come round one day.
So go ahead. What do you got next?
Um, Spider-Man #4, and of course it's the Bendis one, so it's Miles.
Mm-hmm.
Gank's a dick.
Ooh.
No, I don't like Gank anymore. No, he annoyed me in this because there's this mutant called Gold Balls that Bendis invented in his Uncanny X-Men run, and he's for something like, of course, because he's invented it, he's had to bring it over because no one else was doing anything with him, and he's now at the school, and Gank's like fanboying out, and then they like shit goes down, like they end up meeting him. And Gank's like, oh, Miles is Spider-Man, like just randomly. And it's like, why would you do that? Like, why would you just blurt out that Miles is Spider-Man for no apparent reason other than like, oh, you're a superhero, you should know.
Damn.
It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. So like, Miles gets really pissed off and just like walks away. He's like, fuck you. And he's swinging through New York as you do when you're Spider-Man. You're angry. And of course, you can't do that without missiles coming after you. So like these 4 or 5 heat-seeking missiles just chasing Miles down, and like he ends up getting caught in an explosion. He just falls to the street, and there's Tombstone, and he's like, "Oh, someone call Black Cat and get the checkbook ready," and that's where it ends.
Ooh.
So not a very eventful issue, not the best issue Bendis has done for this, but
yeah. So
and no little shitty Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon cutaway jokes.
I know what you're talking about.
Hated that.
So now to go into my last issue, I'm going to be talking about Superman American Alien #7. And it's also kind of a quick little review of the series so far that Max Landis has done with Superman American Alien. I gotta say, I'm impressed. I've enjoyed and loved this series. I've loved every issue that I've read. And this one is just the icing on the cake, because this one does show and tell the importance of Lois Lane. As Batman v Superman said it, Lois Lane is the key, because she really empowers Clark more than I think people think of. And there is a thing at the very end of this issue that I just really love, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Really, this issue is just Superman in his first act of being Superman. He has to fight an alien, and that alien is Lobo. And since Superman is nerfed, he does get hurt. The Superman gets cut. The Superman gets a black eye from Lobo and all that. So it's a pretty interesting fight. And I love the way when they first fight, though, because when they first fight, it's being shown on the news, so everybody is watching. And there's even this really kind of funny moment that Clark almost curses, like Superman almost curses. What? Blasphemy. But yes, because Lobo tells Clark, how shocked do you think Earth would be to see Lobo kick Superman's bloody teeth down his own throat? And then Superman says that, and I quote this because this was actually in the issue, probably not as shocked as they'll be when I take that fancy bike of yours and shove it up your, and then it goes and cuts to everybody watching, and there's people like, what's happening, or like, and then somebody laughing, so it is a down-to-earth Superman story, and it's crazy because, like I said, the fight scene is pretty interesting, but that's not really what interests me and what gets me about this issue. What gets me about this issue was the ending where we see Superman, or actually it's Clark, in a hospital bed, and he's just trying to recover because, as I said, this Superman does get hurt. He gets a black eye, he bleeds, and of course he had his own cover that Clark was in between the action, and that's how he got hurt, and that's why he's in the hospital bed. But there's this one moment in this one page where you're seeing Clark in the hospital bed, and you're kind of just seeing everybody in Metropolis talk about Superman. Some people saying that Superman, if you can hear me, thank you. Hey, Superman, bro, we're your fans. Oh man, that was so cool when Superman did this and that. Can you believe that Superman just threw that alien into space and yada yada yada? And there's even the part where Clark's parents call him like, Clark, it's your parents. Call us if you're okay and everything. So it was really cool to just see how everybody thinks of Superman. But as I mentioned before, I think this comic shows the importance of Lois Lane to Superman and Clark. And I'm going to quote this because I think it's very important to get it as close as possible to what they say in the series, what they say to each other in this comic. Because it starts off with Lois talking to Clark in the hospital bed. And Lois says, "Why'd you have to get so close, you dumb idiot? When they found you, you were half dead. Clark, we can't all be Superman. What kind of person sees the crazy alien blowing up buildings and run towards it?" And she says we can all be Superman because, of course, Lois doesn't know Clark is Superman. And Clark says, "Isn't that exactly what you did? Run toward it? I was trying to be like you. You're the bravest person I've ever met." So throughout this series that Max Landis has created with Superman American Alien, it kind of shows how Superman becomes Superman because he gets everything of becoming Superman from everyone around him, from his parents, from his best friends, from the people in the city he lives in, to the person that he loves most, and that is Lois Lane. He gets his bravery from her because she is just a regular person who goes in between all the action to get the scoop and to just get in there in the thick of it. And that's, I guess, how it shows here why Superman is braver than usual, or how he gets that bravery to want to fight an alien that told him his whole planet was dead. This is a really great issue, great series. I really hope Max Landis continues it in his Max Landis verse, as they call it. But other than that, I mean, I just gotta say, this was
Doesn't
probably
he
my
want
favorite.
to do like an agent of Batman?
Yes, I want to see that
Yeah.
because we only see Batman one time in this, and Clark steals his mask. So. Which is funny because there's even a moment later on where his friends from Smallville play with the mask and like make fun of him. He's like, "I'm the Bat," and they put it on and stuff like that. So it's a very like not grounded, but the better word to say down to earth Superman story. Like
Yeah.
it's a very, I mean, for it's one of those. It's a series you give to people that say Superman isn't relatable because he
Yeah.
definitely is, and even though he is all powerful and godlike, this one does show him that he isn't as godlike, but it shows that he's just another guy who's trying to do the right thing. And he has someone he loves as well that influences him to be better. And he has friends who are always there for him. And he has parents who, even when he has superpowers, are watching TV and hoping that he's okay. Because that's what happens in this issue as well, where he's fighting Lobo on the news and his parents are back home like, "Oh, hope he's okay," or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a very,
It humanizes him a bit more.
yes, and that's what Smallville did as well. And even Jeff Johns recently stated that Superman is a very relatable character, even though some people would say he's not. So
Well, I think it depends on how you write Superman. No.
I think if you write him in Kal-El, he's not relatable. Like he's just an alien.
Yeah.
But if you write him as Clark Kent, the farm boy, he's
Yeah.
relatable by the utmost of
But
standards.
then that's the Superman problem because Clark Kent's the alter ego to Superman. So
No, I always say, and I think in this series as well, and what I think a lot of people have started, I would hope to start to figure out, I think they have, is that Superman has always been him. Like, it's never, yes, his name is Clark Kent, but he's always been Superman. What Superman is just wanting to do the right thing, wanting to do good, and that's what he's always wanted to do, and that's what he's always been doing, and he's always been Superman on the inside, even though now he has a cape and everything. You know what I mean? So,
mm,
like the farm boy from Kansas, Clark Kent, that's actual Superman as well. Cause that's how I see Superman. It's just the like that one, like from the Christopher Reeve Superman too. So, but to what's I think what most people remember or know Superman as is that big god who is all powerful and is most people, as in the new like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Kal-El. I think,
yeah.
and I think that people are starting to realize, whoa, this isn't what Superman we thought was. You know, because that's what everybody thought he was, and then when they got him, they're like, maybe this isn't what we thought it was. So that's why I think this is like not only the OG Superman, but this is the true representation of Superman. I think Max
Yeah.
Landis gets it pretty good, even though he does kind of depower him a little bit. He nerfs him.
Yeah, but I think like is that a bad thing?
Not really.
I, for a character like Superman, I think depowering him's fine.
I think it's just a matter of who's he facing up against because
Yeah,
if he's a long character such as the Flash and everything, and they're facing against Darkseid, they're gonna need him to be all powerful, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
he could still be that farm boy from Kansas. He just has a little bit more power this time around. Like that's the thing. People think that you just because you have to give him more power means he's a different character. No, he's the same guy. You just feel because you give him more power that he's different, but he's not. So that's just me, my spiel on Superman. So, what was your favorite comic? Mitch says we round out the comics of the week.
I'm probably gonna go with Civil War 2.
Nice.
Just because I was surprised by it. I was going into it expecting it to be utter shite.
I didn't
But,
say that.
but
I didn't.
no, pleasantly surprised.
I think mine is Superman American Alien #7. This just was amazing. I mean, I want to get Landis's like series on trade, and then
Yeah,
if he's not crazy by the time I ever meet him, be like, hey, can you autograph
he's
this?
already crazy.
Yeah, but like crazy as in he's gonna be locked up because he is kind of crazy,
He's not far off that
but
now.
he's channeling his craziness into his art.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
that's the only way he's not in one of those places because he has this. And I think he's even mentioned it before that if he wasn't doing this, what he's doing, yeah, he doesn't know exactly what he would be doing right now. He'd probably be
He'd be
locked up
locked up.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he said that before too. And I was like, I very much agree. So before we end off this show, Mitch has something he wants to talk about, and tell him what it is, Mitch. You want to
Yeah,
review
well,
this? Talk about it real quick. Go ahead.
there's been a book out since like 2014 that I've been meaning to read, and finally kind of really got a break to read it because there was no image this week for me. And it's by the guy, it's Brian Lee O'Malley. He did the Scott Pilgrim series,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just, it's not, I'm going to call it a follow up. It's not, well, it is a follow up. Like it's not connected to that in any way. They do make a little cameo. Like there's no speak or anything, but you know it's them.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and it's only like one issue. It's like graphic novel basically, but it was just so good. And it's called Seconds, and it's all about this girl Katie, and like there's this house spirit in this restaurant she owns, and she finds this notebook that basically says like write your mistakes in this book, eat a mushroom, go to sleep,
Ooh.
wake up, and everything back to normal. Like your mistake will be fixed. And like it's her story, like of her trying to fix everything, and like she'll fix one thing, but then everything will change, and like it might not change for the best. It might be for like a worse situation which she finds herself in, and it's her story of doing that, and it is basically saying like you can't always change everything. Like change what you can, but there's some things you can't. And I don't know. It was just like, I've never heard anyone talk about it, and I just kind of wanted to bring it to people's attention because it's such a good. Like it's a couple of hours read, but it was just so good. Like
Well, explain what is it called again? And for the people,
seconds.
seconds, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like a follow up to Scott Pilgrim, right?
Well, it's the writer's follow up. It's not. I don't
Uh,
know if it could be in the same universe. I
it
don't know,
could
but
be a
it's
spiritual sequel.
yeah, like it's very much the same sort of style of writing as Scott Pilgrim, and like very similar artwork. But it's
Yeah.
just no, I just want to bring it to people's attention and recommend it because it was. Like, I really enjoyed it. Like, I just read it in one sitting. I was like, shit, this is a really good book. And it really annoyed myself I didn't read it sooner. So if you can find it, pick it up, and I guarantee you would enjoy it. So I won't say everything that happens. There's a nice little thing that goes on in the book.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I really wanted to say on it.
I mean, definitely go. I mean, I'll probably have a link for. If you have a link, you can send to me, or I'll look it up too, and
Yeah,
we'll.
I'll get a link.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll give it our main. So, because he did last time, he put a link in the description when I asked. He was like, "Okay," and I was like, "Cool." So we'll definitely put that for anybody who's interested into what like what it looks like. So when you go into Barnes and Noble or something and you see it, you're like, oh, there it is. All right, I'm gonna go pick it up because
It'll be a very recognizable thing. If you know the Scott Pilgrim art style, you'll notice this in a second.
and then Mitch
It's
recommends it. You definitely should check it out. Honestly, especially since like you say you like the art in it, right?
Yeah, it's a very different style of art. It's very like simple,
Yeah,
cartoony.
I like those kinds of things. So with that, I guess we'll be leaving off the show, and because Rebirth is coming out next week, and